I want to share one story that I think is incredible, and that is about my children. Because that was my key thing. I wanted to give them everything. I wanted them to be happy. I wanted to create a happy home. I know I was doing all I could, but if any more information that I could get from someone like Doug, who was tuned in to what he said is my book of life. That's what he was reading. Because in his state, wherever he went, we're all one. Scientists or even quantum physics is telling you we're all one. But Jesus said that a long time ago, and the avatars all know that. They all knew that. The mystics all knew that. Now the scientists are coming there. So I could accept what Doug was doing as a reality, as a fact. He could get to that point where he's connected with me. He's connected to my soul. He's connected to my Akashic Records book of life, and he's reading it. And he's answering the questions that I'm asking that are important to me. And I asked about my dear children. Jason must maybe 9, my daughter maybe 13, my son Sasha maybe 12. And he said to me, those 3 come together many lives. This is not their first time. And they come together as a girl and the 2 boys. And he said, the life that resonates the most with this life, he said, is this. They were born hundreds of years ago in the Middle East. They were orphaned, and they were young. And he said, instead of the boys putting the girl out as a prostitute to get money, and them going to steal, do whatever they could, what did they do? They started to work together. They started to plant and have a little garden. And they started to go to the market. The daughter was the one that kept the books. The little one was the one to go out to get the business, the people to buy. The older one was the protective one. They worked as a unit. He said people admired them so much that this is what they were doing instead of doing the wrong thing. And he said, little by little, they started to grow and started to grow. They started to have a bigger business. They started to expand. They started to help the underprivileged, the underdog, people that nobody wanted, people who had physical disabilities, people that nobody even looked at. They brought them in. They brought them into their business. Their business started to flourish. They became big. This is the Middle East, the rugs, the fur. They built an empire from one. Before you know it, by the time they died, they said they were very, very large in their business empire. But not only were they successful in the material world, but their family life, their spouses, their children, what they had with each other, what they gave to others. They were abundant in every good thing in life. When they died, he said, they didn't wait to die, and then people in those days would fight over their inheritance, would kill one another. No. What they did is they shared most of what they had away with everybody, their employees, their families, and they died peacefully and happily. He told me this story, and I thought my kids were just little. I thought, wow. I thought that's a beautiful story. All these were all stories until fast forward 20-something years. My children are the exact replica of what Douglas told me then. My children live that life. They love each other. They share with each other, their families, their children, their money. They work together as a team. If we go somewhere and one of them is missing, they feel it. And because I never told them about Doug's thing, I see it. And I discuss it with my best friends. And I say, look at that, remember, this is why they're... And my other son the other day, Sasha, says, Mom, don't worry about anything. We're building an empire. I said, really? So, and then he said to me about, my daughter is the same. She is the smallest one, the eldest, runs the show. They work together, they trust one another. Their spouses are close. Their children are close. My son Jason used to live in the West End, moved his house right across the street from his brother. And I never told him about Doug's prophecy or story that he told me that he read from my book of life. Later on, maybe about 3 years ago, I said, guys, do you want to hear a story? And I told them. The interesting part is their business. My son is in real estate. My other son's in mortgages. They all correspond, right? They work together. They're investing. They're buying houses. Remember, we started from nothing. I was bankrupt. I was 51 years old. I had nothing. Nothing. We started from nothing, and we built together, right? They did the same thing there in this life. They gave their friends who were lost, my son Jason, when he got the mortgage company, they were lost in their life. They didn't know what to do. He brought them in. People who nobody would even look at, some of them, right? People who were down and out. No, I had a house in Andover. The whole house was full of people who didn't have anywhere to go. And I moved out because I couldn't handle it anymore. They said to me, Mom, what are you doing? I said, I'm leaving home. I said, what do you mean? I'm leaving you. I'm leaving the home for you. I said, I'm just going to go in a little, so I bought a little bungalow not far from here. And in a little small bungalow, and I left them the whole house. I paid for everything, mind you. And they had, I don't know, it was like a shelter. Because they learned to do this. They learned to give. And in their business, it's the same thing. They're givers. I see that what Doug said way back came to play. The closeness, their trust. My son Sasha said, Jason, I said, Jay, but what? He says, Mom, we just trust each other. We know each other. Don't worry. My son Sasha says, Mom, I know your little boy, your youngest one, he gives me some gray hairs. He says, I got his back. The protector, the tall one that Doug talked about, he was the protector. My little son Jay, what does he do in his business? He's the guy who still goes out and gets the business. He gets the business, brings it in, everybody else does the work. He's still up to now, does the same thing Doug talked about. He's the guy that goes out, gets the business, brings it in. The worker bees do the work. My daughter puts everything. The other day we sold a cottage. She had it all worked out. She's still keeping the books for the family. We had a communal property. She did all the divide. Okay, you get this much, you get that one, you get that. Everybody said, fine, no problem. That same level of trust and love they brought from that lifetime. And they've created now, they just bought 100 acres somewhere. They're doing businesses, all kinds. I can't keep up. But you see, it's in their DNA. They've done it before. And as a team, they're doing it again. But they're not doing it to hoard or for themselves. They are givers. Givers. Friends are in trouble. Anybody can go to them. They're givers. And with each other, there's no jealousy. There's love and support, and their little children. I now have 6 grandchildren. You don't know which one belongs to who because they treat each one like as if it's their child. So I'm looking and standing back, and I talked to them. I told them, I said, a very wonderful man, I went to him one day, and he told me about your past life. Can I tell you the story? And they said, yeah, Mom. So I told them this story, and they said, but Mom, what are you talking about? This is this life you're talking about. I said, no, this is hundreds of years ago. It's not now. He told me this when you were 9 and 10 and 11. I said, it played out. It took this long for me to understand what Doug was talking about. But what an amazing understanding that life continues. It continues and never ends. And the love you give is the only thing that really remains. The love is the only real thing. And you can, if you allow your heart to speak to you, it can guide you. And it will never guide you wrong. But I remembered, Doug, what he said. But I couldn't see it then. And now I see it.